Two religious communities with identical origins are experiencing diametrically opposed destinies. While the Amish grew from 5,000 to 400,000 members in a century, doubling every 2 decades, the Mennonites declined from 130,000 (1987) to $60,000 (2024), a 54% loss in a single generation. The paradox is that a group that rejected electricity and automobiles is growing exponentially, while a community that embraced education and modernity is rapidly dying out. Shared roots, different choices. Both communities trace their roots to the 16th century Anabaptist movement, a radical reformation that rejected infant baptism and military service. The divergence occurred in the 20th century. The Mennonites chose the path of assimilation. They founded colleges, adopted the English language, and integrated into American society. The Amish, by contrast, have maintained their way of life at the level of the 1850s. Standard logic predicted the extinction of the Amish. Instead, the opposite occurred. 4 survival mechanisms. 1. The high cost of membership. Being Amish means specific things: refusing electricity, wearing traditional clothing, and submitting to church discipline. Breaking the rules results in ostracism, shunning. This strictness creates a paradoxical effect. Precisely because membership is expensive, it is valuable. Young people, after Rumspringa, the period when they are allowed to experience the outside world, remain in the community 90% of the time, not for lack of choice, but because they recognize the value of belonging. Mennonites, by contrast, demand nothing. You can be a Mennonite and live like an ordinary American. The result? Membership becomes meaningless. If religion doesn't change your way of life, what's the point? 2. Cultural integrity. The Amish retained the Pennsylvania German language, traditional crafts, carpentry, farming, and multi-generational family structures. This created a complete alternative to American life, not just a religious belief, but a total way of life. The Mennonites abandoned German for English, moved to cities, and sent their children to university. Within 2 generations, they were indistinguishable from their neighbors, except for attending church on Sundays. A logical question: why not sleep at home or go to a more convenient church? 3. Resistance to individualism. American culture is hyper-individualistic. Do what's right for you. The Amish reject this. The community decides how you live, where you work, where you settle. This seems oppressive, but it creates a stability and meaning that individualism cannot provide. The Mennonites embraced individualism completely. The result? The church has become a cluster of individuals casually attending a single building, rather than a community with shared life. It doesn't compete with secular alternatives. It's simply another choice on the consumer menu. 4. Theological stability. Amish theology has remained unchanged for 300 years. The Bible is the Word of God. Pacifism is absolute, and believers' baptism is necessary. Young people know what to believe. Mennonites have embraced progressive theology. They challenged biblical authority, redefined Christianity through social justice, and in 2017, approved same-sex marriage. This attracted neither traditionalists, who retreated to conservative groups, nor progressives, who preferred Episcopalian or United Reformed churches with better music. Theological liberalism has destroyed the ability to answer the fundamental question: why be a Christian? Demographic collapse. Amish family, 6-7 children. Mennonite, 1-2 children. That's math. A fertility rate of 2.1 is needed to maintain a population. Mennonites have a rate of 1.5. Over 70 years, this represents a catastrophic decline. Why? Mennonites have adopted modern American values: women's careers, delayed marriage, and family planning as an investment in stability. Children are an expense, an obstacle to success. The Amish see children as a blessing. Women focus on motherhood. Extended family helps with care, and a farm can utilize child labor. Having many children has both economic and social implications. 3 fatal Mennonite decisions. Education as an exodus. In the early 20th century, Mennonites founded colleges, believing that education was the path to prosperity. But educated young people left rural communities, absorbed secular worldviews, and married non-Mennonites. The education conveyor belt became a conveyor belt of retreat. Research shows that higher education correlates with religious decline, not because knowledge is hostile to faith, but because universities socialize students into a secular, progressive culture. The Amish avoided the trap. Education ends in the 8th grade. Young people remain in the community, unaffected by secularizing influences. This limits career opportunities, but preserves faith. Assimilation as suicide. The Mennonites believed that abandoning the German language and traditional dress would make them witnesses in American society. They assimilated, but assimilation destroyed the cultural foundation of religious identity. 2 generations later, for decades, the Mennonites were no different from their neighbors except for Sunday worship. The logical result? People stopped coming. The Amish maintained their boundaries. Horse-drawn carriages instead of cars, simple clothing instead of fashion, German instead of English. These boundaries seemed like barriers to influence. In fact, they created a clear identity. People can't accidentally stop being Amish. The boundaries prevent it. Demographic choice. Mennonites adopted modern family values, having few children, prioritizing careers, delaying marriage. This mirrors secular American culture, producing the same demographic collapse. Religious communities that don't reproduce die mathematically. An inconvenient truth. The path to survival in the modern world can be a path of resistance to the modern world. Strategies that seem to guarantee relevance, education, assimilation, theological liberalism, guaranteed irrelevance. Strategies that seemed like a recipe for extinction, separation, traditionalism, theological conservatism, guaranteed survival. This challenges our assumptions about what makes churches alive or dead. We assumed that to reach modern people, we had to become modern. The Amish proved that wrong. We assumed that boundaries meant isolation and decline. The Mennonites proved that their absence meant dissolution. We assumed that education and progress were always good. The Mennonite collapse suggests that they are often fatal to a religious community. A challenge for every church. Can you maintain a distinctive identity in a culture that demands conformity? Can you ask for costly commitment in an age of consumerism? Can you maintain theological clarity when a culture demands relativism? Can you build multi-generational community when a culture prioritizes individual freedom? The Amish answered yes to all questions and are thriving. The Mennonites answered no and are disappearing. The lesson is stark. Loyalty to tradition, resistance to assimilation, and a willingness to be countercultural are not obstacles to survival. They are conditions for survival.